Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, we are continuing ReZero Avatar Lost. What if Aang was in ReZero, Season 1, Part 2. First and foremost, as always, if you are new to the channel or if you're a regular and you like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. So first, I just want to say it is a great coincidence that I am doing a series on ReZero, and on the day that I schedule for these videos to come out, I find out that today is actually Rem and Ram's birthday. Now, granted, they are fictional characters, so in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't matter, but I think that this is just a special form of coincidence, because truly, I did not plan this out. I know a lot of people are going to think, oh, you probably planned for this to happen. I truly didn't. I looked up this morning on Instagram and just saw that today was Rem and Ram's birthday, and I'm doing a ReZero video, and this is the part of the story where they make their debut. So I just, sometimes you just think the universe just makes it happen like this. So I feel like this is just going to be a special video for me, at least for people. If you listen to it later on and you're listening back when this video was made, I feel like this is just going to be pretty cool and significant in my opinion. But anyway, in today's video, we're going to be covering the first of the two parts of the mansion arc. Originally, I was going to try to cover it all in one video, but that would lead to like a 2-hour video and no one's sitting through that. I'm trying to keep this video under 40 minutes if I can. So we're going to be covering the first half of the mansion arc here, and next week we'll wrap up the second half of the mansion arc, and that will be the end of that. So stay tuned for everything. And as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Aang found himself waking up to an unfamiliar ceiling. Although in the beginning he hoped it had all just been a dream. Maybe everything that had gone on had just been one big, crazy, wacky dream. Maybe he had eaten some weird custard tart or something like that. That's right. He was going to roll out of his bed. He was going to find himself at the Eastern Air Temple with all of his friends and masters. And it was going to be like none of this ever happened. He expected to hear the sound of the bison early in the morning, the smell of that morning's breakfast, the sound of the wind blowing out his window. However, Aang was not greeted to any of that. He awoke and found himself in a strange place. A fancy bed, definitely more so than anything he'd ever seen before. An unrecognizable ceiling, an unrecognizable room. And he found himself dressed in robe and garb. His clothing, it had been gone. Did they take it off of him? He didn't see his bow staff anywhere. He wasn't home. But how much of what happened to him had been real and how much of it was a dream? This was something Aang had to figure out. As he found himself walking out through the halls, it seemed as though he was in some large building, some structure or home that just seemed to go on endlessly, with similar doors lining each side of the hall, room after room. Of course, Aang eventually found himself being drawn to a particular door. He wasn't sure why, but he just felt a presence. It was something akin to his feeling around the spirits, as if there was a great spirit behind the door. But what he found was a small girl, dressed in strange attire, but she seemed to be well kept. The girl was reading from a large book while sipping on tea. As she looked up and saw the young boy, rude of you to come in without knocking, I suppose. Oh, I'm so terribly sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to offend you. Aang bowed profusely over and over again to truly show his apologies for his ignorance and his ill manner. The young girl was pleased with this. The young boy had decorum. He was respectful, polite, and soft-spoken. He actually acknowledged his mistakes and tried to show genuine remorse. This was definitely not common, especially for human folk, but she supposed that maybe some of them had their good qualities. She would tell Aang that there was no need for him to keep bowing, and that she would forgive him this time, but to remember to knock first. Aang would make a note of this as he looked around where he was. It was a hall of books, like some sort of cove library. The girl would introduce herself as Betty, or Beatrice to be more specific, and she would tell him that he was in the Forbidden Library. Of course, that was just the name of it, but he was allowed to come in with her permission. Of course, Aang still had no idea where he was or how he had gotten here. But Beatrice would feel something as Aang got closer. It caused her to stand in attention and walk rather quickly towards him. What's wrong? She held out her hand as she pressed it onto his chest. Instantly, sparks of energy would form all around him, Aang feeling like he had been drained of almost all of his power. But for Beatrice, she couldn't believe what she was feeling. What are you? What? That hurt. It feels like you've drained all my energy. It was just a mana touch. I wanted to see what type of power you held. But that can't be right. Why do I feel as if there are multiple life forms inside of you? Like you've been... Like I've been reincarnated? You are no ordinary boy. Betty can feel it. You feel as though you have lived more lives than one, but yet you are new. And your kinship, your attachment to the spirits, it's stronger than any mortal I've ever felt. You are not normal at all. Is that a bad thing? I do not know. Aang wished he could have talked further, but the next thing he knew, he was passing out again. He found himself back in the room, back in that bed. And now this time at the foot of the bed, he saw two girls greeting him. They were dressed in strange garb of black and white, although both girls looked very similar, one with blue hair and one with pink hair. The two twins would hold hands as they looked at Aang slowly awakening. Look, sis, our guest awakens. Yes, Ram. He finally awakens. What's going on? Ew. As Aang looked, seeing two girls in his room was definitely a shocker, and cute ones at that. Aang would hide his face immediately under a pillow. I'm sorry. He seems rather shy, doesn't he, Rem? Yes, he does, Ram. He seems to find a fondness towards you. As you as well. This is a strange surprise. He has intention, but they are not lustful in nature. Although he does seem to have strong a feeling. Hey, are you reading my mind? We can see through it. We can feel what you are feeling. I just feel violated. Now, you two. You don't have to go and badger our guests like that. Yes, Miss Amelia. Terribly sorry. Yes, Miss Amelia. We do apologize. You two shouldn't be so formal. You should be happy. Today's your birthday, after all. Oh, yes, it is. Thank you for remembering, Miss Amelia. Yes, thank you. Today's your birthday? Aang would ask. The two girls looked back towards Aang. Yes, guest. It is the day of our births. We are twins. Yes. We share the same birthday. The two of us, Rem and Ram. Ram and Rim. No, I am Rim, would say the blue-haired girl. And I am Ram, would say the pink-haired girl. So you're Ram and you're Rim? Just Ram and Rim, but we pronounce as Rim and Ram. You know, okay. But anyway, happy birthday to the both of you. And I take it you've been watching after me. Thank you so much, all of you. The girls would be happy by Aang's politeness. The boy was definitely different from most. He was respectful, kind, and all in all showed a genuine enthusiasm. Even Puck was happy to see Aang was awake. He just had a natural charm about him. It wasn't from a sense of him being anything special in the onset. It was just in the way that he carried himself. It was definitely true that the boy had some power within him. A power that maybe even he wasn't fully realizing of what he was capable of. But yet even still, he didn't go around trying to be a big shot, to lord it over anyone. In fact, he was probably the most humble and meekest that they had ever seen. Although for Aang, he didn't really think that was anything unique or special. It was just how he was raised. The air nomads carried a different lifestyle compared to the others of the other great nations. While the air nomads believed in a more traditional and a humble way of living, never wanting to try to gain too much or to be attached to too many worldly or greatly things, they just chose to find peace and to find their place in the world. All this would lead to Aang meeting the owner of the mansion that he found himself in, Margrave Roswald L. Mathers. He seemed oddly dressed compared to everyone else, but even still, Aang was respectful towards him. Ah, yes, you are the famed boy I've heard so much about. You helped out our Amelia greatly, and for that, you are always welcome. Oh, thank you. I'm just glad I could help where I could. Indeed, you actually provided a great service to us. You see, that insignia means a lot, especially for someone who intends to be the future ruler of a country. Ruler of a country? Aang would learn more about the situation, about where he was exactly. The country of Lagunica. With the last royal family having gone into an own exile and all essentially disappearing, a new ruler of the country was going to have to be selected. Among the candidates was Amelia, and the insignia that she had lost was proof of her status. If she hadn't been able to find it, then it would have all but disqualified her from even having a shot at the candidacy. Of course, hearing about the state of the world and how it was in a rather precarious state, Aang couldn't help but feel as though he had lived something like this before. Of course, there was the asking of Aang's own origins. Just who exactly was he? Where did he come from? Aang tried his best to explain. He came from the Eastern Air Temple, and with all due respect, he had never heard of Lagunica. He tried to inquire once again about the other nations. Where was the Earth Kingdom? Where was the Fire Nation? The Water Tribe? Were any of them here? Of course, everyone looked at him strangely since they had never heard of such places. Of course, there was the potential Frozen Kingdom to the north, there was the Desert Kingdom to the west, and there was even said to be a land that was engulfed in flame, but they had never heard of these kingdoms specifically. Roswald even had a map brought to show just what the world looked like, and for Aang, this looked nothing like his world. This can't be. You don't recognize this map. You don't seem to recognize anything from this world. I would take a long guess, but are you from another world? What exactly is your story, Aang? This is all so much to take in. I don't know if you'd even believe me, but I'm the Avatar. Everyone would look at him strangely in that moment. Avatar? Amelia would ask. What exactly's an avatar? Aang couldn't believe it. They didn't know what an avatar was? Well, there was no point in hiding it. Aang would try his best to explain what the avatar was. A being reincarnated into each of the 4 nations in a cycle: air, water, earth, and fire. The duty of the Avatar was to master the 4 elements and to keep and maintain balance in the world. Of course, all of this would sound far-fetched for anyone, but at least for them, what he said didn't sound like it was too far from the truth. After all, Beatrice would chime in. She even stated that she sensed a lot of force and a lot of energy within him, as if Aang had gained multiple lifetimes worth of experience, like it was all sealed away inside of him just waiting to be unleashed. Also, there was the fact that if Aang truly could master 4 elements naturally on his own, then that could only speak further to his potential. But the real question was, how on earth had this Avatar arrived in their world, since there was no recorded history of its existence? Now, granted, there were those who could use multiple elements within magic, but they were nothing to be considered the greatest thing on the planet. Sure, everyone usually had their gates be an affinity for one element or another, but if you studied and applied hard enough, you could potentially gain 2. This was what really floored Aang. The idea that there were people who could use more than one element that wasn't the Avatar? So, you come from a world where this Avatar exists, and you are the one next in line. But now you find yourself in a new location, a world where no such title or being has ever existed. This might just simply be a long-winded guess, but I like to imagine that our new arrival here must have come from another world. Truly fascinating. But how could that even be? Amelia would say. Another world? Is that even possible? It just can't be real. No, Miss Amelia. You of all people should know that nothing in this world is impossible. For all you know, there could be another world just around the corner. There's no telling. Just because we've never found a way to travel between the worlds doesn't mean that those in other locations may not be able to find a way. Our friend here has seemingly discovered how to travel between worlds, which is truly fascinating. But that's the thing, I didn't figure it out. I didn't learn how to travel between any of the worlds. I don't even know how I got here. The last thing I remember was that I was flying. I was flying in a storm on my flying bison. The next thing I knew, I crashed into water and formed ice around myself. And then I just awoke here. I have no idea how I've gotten here. I have no idea how I've even been here this whole time. I mean, unless another world could come from within the waters. But even still, I don't even know if that's possible. I mean, there's just... Calm down, Aang. It's gonna be alright, Amelia would say. But it's not. I mean, I'm the Avatar. I can't be stuck here. I mean, can I? I don't even know how any of this works. Could I really get to another world? That is the tricky part. You see, if what we are to believe is true, that you do come from another world, then it won't be as simple as just figuring out a way to send you back. For all you know, there could be a multitude of worlds, all varying in degrees with their differences. Who's to say that the next world you jump to would even be yours? And if not, who's to say that the world you go to would have another way of sending you to somewhere else? For all you know, you could spend your whole life traveling world to world, and you may never find your way home. And by the time you do, who knows how much time will have passed? And also, if it's true that you're the reincarnate, right, of a being that came before you, if you're here, then what happens in your other world? I mean, assuming that you did die here, wouldn't you just reincarnate in the next world? But what if you don't? What if you reincarnate in this world? That was the part that had Aang worried. If what had been happening to him was true, then he already did. For some reason, the Avatar cycle must have been broken. But that wasn't entirely the case. You see, what you could describe Aang's situation as was that he had become a branch. The Avatar cycle was like a tree that continued to grow and point to the sky. With each avatar that passed, the tree grew that much taller, all the way from its root, from the base that lied in the ground. The situation Aang found himself in was that he was an avatar that had become a branch. He was still connected to the tree. However, the tree had to continue to grow. The branch would only grow outwards, but it could never go up. While Aang could still be attached to the lineage of the avatars, the cycle, unfortunately, had moved on. The moment Aang was brought to this world, the avatar cycle continued. A new avatar had been chosen, and now Aang found himself as the branch avatar. But who had been chosen specifically? That's a story for another day. In the meantime, with Aang here, the best thing he could do was try to figure out his situation. Of course, Roswaal offered him a reward for helping Amelia. He could have anything he wanted, but truthfully, Aang didn't want anything. He just offered to help out anywhere that he could, and in exchange, he hoped he could get some much needed help to try to figure out something. Roswaal was more than eager to keep Aang around. You see, this had potential. This could lead him to places he never even knew possible. He was definitely intrigued with the boy. And in exchange for helping him out, Aang could help out around here. He wasn't combative in nature, but he definitely had skill. If he was capable of fighting off against the bow hunter and surviving, then he could definitely be a good force to have around the mansion, as a form of protection. Aang didn't mind the idea of being the protector of the mansion, to watch over things and make sure everyone was safe. After all, you never knew when another attacker or thief might come along, and there was no guarantee that Roswaal would always be around to watch over everything. It would give him a peace of mind knowing that he had someone he could trust, and Aang was honored to share in that trust. As the days passed on, Aang, Roswaal, and Beatrice continued in their studies. Aang found much needed help in the Forbidden Library. There were theories talking about another world and potential ways to travel them, but nothing was concrete or certain. Of course, Aang tried to offer whatever knowledge he could. There was also the matter of Aang learning how to use the other elements. Of course, he had the potential to use all four, that much was made clear, but he could only use air. He hadn't tried to master any of the other elements, and even then, he wouldn't know where to start. However, Puck would chime in. If using the elements was anything like using mana, then maybe it simply came down to him practicing with someone who was good at a specific element. He already had wind, or air as he called it, under his belt. He just needed someone that was skilled with fire, with earth, and with water. Even if it wasn't exactly bending, the rules should still apply. If the principle of using an element was the same universally, then he could theoretically learn to master it, and maybe even to a greater degree, because technically speaking, Aang still had a gate, although his gate wasn't attached to any of the 4 elements that he had. No, Aang had a gate of darkness. Aang had no idea how he would even obtain that. If he had a gate that was natural to him, shouldn't it have been like the wind gate or something? After all, he was an airbender. But Puck couldn't fully figure it out himself. Darkness was his gate. But he didn't have to worry about it. He could bend the other 4 elements at will, so it wasn't like he needed to use his gate for that. He might not even ever have to use it unless he wanted to. For now, Aang wasn't going to focus on using darkness. It didn't really seem like his style. In the meantime, Aang helped in other ways. Whether it was helping to use his air bending to blow away the cut grass or the trimmed hedges, or helping to carry things around the mansion, or running errands with Rem, especially towards the village where he had even made some friends with the kids. They always played out in the open meadows and in the forest, and even played with the animals. Although he met a nasty little puppy that bit him on the hand. It stung for a bit, but Aang was able to get over it. All in all, things were looking up rather well. Of course, Aang still had the anxiety of trying to get back home. After all, there was no telling what could have happened while he was gone. But hopefully, things wouldn't be too bad. It had been 5 days since he had arrived at the mansion. They weren't bad at all, but still, there was the looming feeling of wanting to go home. Hopefully, things would work out for him. Tomorrow was a new day, a new discovery potentially, and he couldn't wait to see what was in store for him. Aang would wake up once again, looking forward to the day that was to come. He noticed that both Rem and Ram were standing at the foot of his bed. Rem, Ram, it's good to see you guys. So, what do you need me to do today? Rem, do you know this person? No, Ram, I do not. I do not know why he speaks to us in such a casual way, as if he knows us. What do you mean? Of course I know you guys. I've been here for over 5 days. No. You've only been here for 2, and you've been unconscious. We have never met. What are you Aang looked down at his hand. The bite mark that he had received was gone. It was as if it had never happened. As he looked closer, his room didn't look the way it had when he fell asleep. It looked brand new, like he had never used it. But he had been using this room for 5 days. No. How? How did this happen? How did he die again? How? What went wrong? What happened? Did he die in his sleep? Did someone kill him? How? How was he back? It had been 5 days. This hadn't happened in 5 days. It wasn't a dream. He couldn't play this off anymore. Emilia walked into the room. She asked for the 2 girls to stop badgering Aang, and she also wished them a happy birthday, to which the 2 complied happily. But Aang, he couldn't. No. He had been making such progress. What went wrong? Aang felt like he was about to have a mental breakdown, but he tried to keep himself together. Whatever happened, whatever went wrong for him, he had to figure it out. The first thought of Aang's mind was to keep things calm, but it was hard for him to do so. How could he keep calm? He couldn't deny it anymore. He was dying, and yet he kept coming back. Was this his avatar power? No. Could the avatar really just return by death? No, when the avatar dies, they reincarnate into the next cycle. That's how it works. But then he thought about the conversation. What if he couldn't reincarnate? What if this was some defect of the avatar's power, or something that the avatars didn't know they could do? Was this something he was always capable of? That couldn't be it. But even so, if that was the case, wouldn't he have died when he fell in the water? Wouldn't he have drowned? Wouldn't that be where his restart would be? If the avatar could always do this, how the hell was he here? He had no way of knowing. He couldn't figure it out. He didn't understand. And yet, even still, he knew that he couldn't afford to waste an opportunity. Aang would try to keep things together. He went through the whole process as he had before. He felt there was no need for him to deviate. He already had everything working for him. He went through everything he had gone through once, doing exactly as he had done. But now he had a key day in mind. Whatever happened on the 5th night, that's what led to the death. If he stayed on guard on that night, maybe he'd have a chance. Aang went about doing everything he had done once before happily. No reason to change it. Everything stayed the same up until the 5th night. Rather than going to sleep, Aang stayed wide awake. He stayed awake and he meditated. He had to stay on guard. He couldn't allow himself to be caught. As he tried, though, his breathing became harder and harder, almost to the point where it felt like he couldn't catch his breath. He felt his stomach churning, like he was ill. His eyes became weary, his stomach nauseous. He had to go to the bathroom. As he walked out, he felt his vision getting dizzy. He found it hard to stay on his feet. He started throwing up profusely. His insides felt like they were melting. His bones, they ached. His muscles, they felt like they were on fire. He had never felt this sick in his life. He felt like he could keel over and die at any moment. What is going on? It was like poison? No, that can't be right. I don't feel good. Help me. As Aang stumbled through the hall, without any warning, he felt something. He looked down at his left arm, or at least where his left arm should have been. He saw that it had been torn off, as if something had cut, slashed, ripped, and broken it off. It had twisted and turned, and now it lied in front of him in a pool of his own blood. It took a moment for the shock to wear off and for the pain to set in. Oh, God! Why? What the? Aang tried to stagger to see what had happened, but he felt cold, hard metal whipping against his body as he fell to the ground. His vomit now mixed with his own blood as he coughed out to the floor. In the darkness of the night, he couldn't see what it was, but it was someone, the silhouette of a being in the shadows. Who are you? Those were the last words he gurgled as his head was splattered onto the ground. A large object had crushed it into a pool of bone and brain matter. The only thing that could be seen was an eyeball that rolled in the moonlight. Aang found himself looking back up at the ceiling once more. Rising out of bed, he saw both Rem and Ram standing there. What the? Oh no. It can't be. Aang stumbled. He wasn't sure of what to do anymore. He couldn't do this on his own. He thought maybe it was best to keep it to himself. But no. He needed help. He called out to Amelia in the halls, and Amelia found him. Aang, you're out of bed. Are you okay? The girls didn't bother you, did they? Rem and Ram? No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Listen, Amelia, I need you to listen to me. Please. Aang grabbed both of her hands. Amelia, out of concern, would listen intently. Amelia, you're not going to believe this. But we've met before. We have? I'm sorry, I don't remember. I don't expect you to. Look, this is gonna sound crazy, but I've been returning by... Before he could even finish that sentence, a cold, dark heart wrapped itself around Aang's own heart. It morphed into a hand that crushed his chest. Aang, what's wrong? Amelia, what is this feeling? Amelia, we met before. I return. This is between you and me. I return by death! As Aang fell to the ground, everything would fade to black. Aang would find himself awakening to that familiar ceiling. A feeling of dread washed over him. What on earth could he do? A power that he could not speak. Something only he would know. A burden only he could carry. It felt like that day all over again. That day that changed everything. Aang remembered that day vividly. It was the day he learned of his true identity. The day he learned that he was the Avatar. It felt as though everything in his life changed in that moment. His friends no longer viewed him the same. The elders of the Air Temple suddenly had responsibility and pressure thrust upon him that he never asked for. And what was worse, he only found out when he was 12, when most avatars didn't learn of their origin until their 16th birthday. And yet now he found himself in a different world. Some time had passed since, despite knowing that he was 12 when he ran away, he looked as though he had aged a bit. At least in terms of his height and his size, he was at least 15 going on 16 by his calculations. He found himself in a strange world where he knew nothing of its origins or how it worked, and no one knew of him. he didn't find anywhere that was familiar. And to make matters worse, on top of all of that, this, whatever it was, would not allow him to die, but he could not speak it to others. Aang found himself drowning in his own madness. Amelia tried to check on him, but Aang simply told her for her own good to leave him alone. He found himself going through the motions like he did before, only this time he was more recluse. He didn't even bother doing anything going out of his way too much. In fact, when Rem had asked if he wanted to go with her to the village to pick up herbs, he decided against it, instead drowning himself in his own study and thought, trying to figure out a way. But finally he came up with a solution. He couldn't stay here anymore. Whatever was happening, it was happening to him. It was his own problem and he couldn't allow it to be a burden to others. But at the same time, he knew for a fact he was killed on that night. Meaning that whoever was responsible, what if it didn't just end with him? What if the whole mansion had been massacred? That was something Aang couldn't allow to happen. This was going to be his final act of kindness. Stop whoever was responsible for the attack. Once he saved his own life, he planned on leaving. He had to figure out his own way. He couldn't just rely on others for everything. After having some provisions packed for him, Aang would set off. He waved goodbye to the others. With his knapsack on him, he threw his glider into the air and he glided off as the mansion grew farther and farther from distance. However, Aang truly didn't go too far. He hid away over in the forest towards the eastern part of the mansion, getting a good enough view to watch it from a distance. He could see Amelia's room perfectly, and he had a good vantage point. Whatever was going to happen, he'd be ready for it. The sky grew to a dark red as the evening came, and as sunset washed over the land. A strong nervousness washed over Aang. He wondered what he'd do when he confronted the killer. What was he going to do in that moment? He didn't want to kill. He never wanted to be that type of person. But at the same time, what if that's what it came down to? The lives of everyone versus the lives of the attacker. Could he really make that choice? Did he have the right to? It was then that he heard a chain, the clanging of metal, before a flying mace would come from out of the darkness of the forest, almost taking Aang's head off. However, he had managed to dodge. His bow staff stood at the ready. So, I guess you're after me then, huh? Well, bring it. I'm not gonna let you hurt anyone else. If you want me, come and get me. I had hoped that it wouldn't have come to this. That voice. Why did it sound so familiar? I was hoping I could take you out without anyone noticing. It was going to be swift and simple. No, it couldn't be. But the sound, the feeling, it was you. Rem. I do apologize, but please understand, I am only doing my duty. Rem would swing her mace towards Aang. Aang would dodge as he used his bow staff to fend off the chain. Rem would come through with a kick, kicking Aang in his side and sending him flying. The girl was a monster. No, a demon, to have that type of strength. Rem would swing her mace with precision and with accuracy. Aang just barely managed to dodge each strike. using his airbending to blow back the spiked ball and chain. However, Rem was able to counter with kicks and punches of her own. If it hadn't been for Aang's agility and his ability to dodge and fight on the defensive, she might have broken them in half. As the two continued their fighting into an open clearing, Rem could see that her opponent was not someone to take lightly, but even still, she could not fail. Why do you persist? What? Why are you trying to kill me? What did I ever do to you? Don't play dumb. You might fool everyone else, but you don't fool me. Tell me, are you a part of the witch cultist? The witch cultist? No, I don't know any cult or... Don't lie to me! You took everything from me. You took from my sister. And yet you smile. And you flaunt her so happily without a care in the world. My sister won't say anything, but I can't tolerate it any longer. Just the very sight of you. You make me sick! I hate you! Rem continued to swing her mace as Aang continued to fight and deflect, until finally he shot back a strong enough gust of wind, forcing her to the ground. He pinned her with his staff. However, her strength would not allow him to hold it for long. Tears welled up in Aang's eyes as tears of anger flustered in hers. Rem, please! I don't want to fight you! I'm not a part of a cultist! How could you even think that about me? After everything we've been through together, how could you ever think that I'd want to harm you? Why? If you're not a part of the cultist, then why? Why does the smell of the envy witch? Why is it all over you? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why this is happening to me. I don't want to fight you. I'm not trying to hurt or kill anyone. I swear. So please, stop this. Even if that's true, I can't take that risk. I'm sorry, but I can't. She would kick Aang off of her, forcing him back into retreating. She picked up the mace once more, slamming it straight into the ground, causing the whole area to shake. Aang lost his footing just for a moment, and in that instant, she dashed towards him, punching him in the stomach and forcing him to keel over to his knees. She lifted her leg into the air. One roundhouse kick to the back of the head. She could break his neck. It would be all over. However, in that moment, for a faint moment, all of Aang's emotion, all of that feeling, it all washed out of him. And in a brief flash, a glow that was as bright but dimmed just as quickly emanated around them. He pushed her back with a great flurry of wind. Enough! Rem would be filled with fear. She thought she had a chance, but his power, she didn't know he was capable of this. She couldn't fight this. I won't let you. I'm not going to hurt you. Listen to me. I don't want to fight you. So stop. Well, this is an intriguing sight. The two would turn to see Beatrice. Aang calmed himself, and so did Rem. Miss Beatrice, why are you... I felt a great surge of power. I suppose I had to come and see for myself just what it was all about. But even still, I didn't think it would come from you. You truly are something else, you know. Although I suppose it's to be expected. You are this avatar, are you not? Beatrice, I don't know what's going on here, but you have no reason to fight each other. Although if you want to, I won't stop you. I was just intrigued by what I sensed. She says I have something called the smell of the witch. I don't know what that is. I don't even know what's going on. She's not wrong. The smell is quite potent. But there's also something else. Miss Beatrice, we can't trust him. I think we can. I don't think there's anything wrong here. If he had done something wrong, I would have felt it. I can promise you, the boy has done nothing wrong. But even still, Can you help us? I don't know how to explain it, but you could be a witness. You can know that I did nothing wrong on this night. Can you please watch over us till the morning? Just so that we have the peace of mind. Peace of mind? Well, since you're desperate, I suppose I can help you. She held out her hand to Aang. By this contract, I promise to watch over you. I will make sure that nothing happens to you on this night. The contract has been made and cannot be broken, Miss Rem. Are you okay with these terms? Please, I promise you, I didn't do anything, and I won't. I swear it. Fine. I will wait and see what happens. But if anything does happen, I won't hesitate. I don't care what she says. Aang wanted to breathe a sigh of relief, but he couldn't. How could he? This felt more like a stay of execution than anything else. And that power that he used, he knew he'd never done that before. They all returned to the mansion. Aang would sit in the forbidden library with Beatrice. Nothing happened. However, the next morning, a cry would ring out. As both Beatrice and Aang went to see what was wrong, Roswald, Amelia, and Ram, they all were in Rem's room, where Rem lied in the bed. However, she wasn't moving, because Rem, she was dead. What's going on? You didn't cause this, Beatrice said. I can tell for a fact. I watched over you all night. You had nothing to do with this. But still, Ram would say, none of this would have happened if he hadn't come here. You know something, don't you? You're responsible! Roswald turned with a serious expression. What do you know, Aang? I don't know anything. I don't know how this happened. Beatrice, You didn't cause this, Aang. Amelia, if you didn't do it, I believe you. But if you know anything, can you please tell us? How did this happen? He knows something. I know he does. Roswald turned with a serious look as he conjured multiple forms of energy in his hands. What are you doing? This is something I cannot allow to pass. Both Beatrice and Amelia would stand in the way. Do you intend to fight me? I have made a promise to the boy. I cannot break it. Roswald, please listen to reason. That I cannot. Roswald would cause a major explosion. power and energy flowing all around as the mansion was seemingly destroyed. Roswald's anger began to flurry. It roared like a raging inferno all around him. Aang had to protect the others. He couldn't leave them like this. And he couldn't take it anymore. In a swirl of light, Roswald found himself face to face, but not with Aang. So, who am I speaking to? Are you Aang? I am Avatar Roku. I see. So the boy was telling the truth in this regard. You must be his past life. Have you come out to his defense? You underestimate me, man. I underestimate nothing. If I'm being entirely honest, your little reincarnation stick, it doesn't frighten me at all. You think what I do is just for show, you impotent brat. I'll have you know, you're not the only one who knows a thing or two about returning from the afterlife. So you know more than it seems, do you not? Let's just say I have had similar interests. But that's besides the point. What do you want with me? The boy has done nothing wrong. And now currently he does not have the strength to defend himself. But make no mistake, the boy is not alone. Is that right? And just what can you do against me? I am the Avatar. I have mastered the 4 elements over 1,000 lifetimes. You will learn your place. What happened next can only be described as a flurry of light, of energy, and of power never before seen. It hardly seemed like a fight between two mortals. It almost seemed like a fight between monsters. As quickly as it had started, it finished. Water, wind, fire, earth, all on full display. When it was all said and done, Roswald lied on the ground, and Aang stood there once again. However, as his consciousness came back to him, he had no idea what had happened, how things had gotten this bad. Throughout the rubble and destruction, he saw Beatrice and Ram. Roswald lie on the ground in a bloody, beaten heap. Gashes, bruises, burn marks littered his body. I see. You truly are a master. Roswald! Look at what you've done, Ram would say. You've destroyed everything! Why? What could Aang do? How had things gotten this bad? He didn't even know that himself or how to answer it. He couldn't let things end like this. Even if no one else remembered, he knew he would always remember. Beatrice would stand in between him and Ram. Do you still plan to defend him after everything he's done? The boy has done nothing wrong. I have made a contract and I cannot break it. Roswald chose to fight him despite him being innocent. He only defended himself. That's bullshit! That is complete bullshit! First Rem, now Roswald. The manor, everything is gone. And yet, rather than stand with us, you defend him. Beatrice was prepared to do what she must. However, Aang would pull her aside. What are you doing? I'll be fine. I promise. Ram, I don't want to hear it from you. I know. Nothing I say in this moment, nothing I do could ever make you believe me. But please know and understand, I didn't kill her. But you know something. If you know it, then why? Why won't you tell me? Truthfully, I can't. And even if I could, it won't change anything that's happened here. Aang took a deep breath. He centered himself. Ram would swirl a powerful form of wind magic in her hand. Beatrice was prepared to step in. However, Aang, in a sweeping motion to his back, blew her away. Ram would charge towards Aang. As Aang spoke, I can't change the past. The only thing I can do is promise for a better future. As quickly as she had moved, she had already reached him. Aang could feel something. He felt her arm piercing through his chest, and out the other side was Ram's bloody arm, and in her hand, a beating heart. She let out a guttural cry as she squeezed it. And with that, everything would fade. This concludes ReZero Avatar Loss. What if Aang was in ReZero? Season 1, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Naruto DxD, The Last Shinobi. What if Naruto was in High School DxD, Season 1, Part 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.
Ah